Hello and welcome all of you student. Let's continue with our unit 6 and the remaining part from the unit 6. So the last time we have started discussion regarding the phases of optimization. In that already we have seen the optimization generally get divided into the two categories like the local optimization and the global optimization. And last time related with the local optimization and the DAG based local optimization, that all the points with the example we have studied. So today we'll discuss the details regarding the global optimization and some techniques which is required to perform the global optimization. So as already we know, the optimization we perform in the synthesis phase, that is in backend of the compiler, and optimization is nothing but the one of the code transformation or modification or rearrangement technique where we try to improve the intermediate code by making it consume the less or the fewer resources like CPU memory, so that our program can run faster. Also, we can define the code optimization in another way. Code optimization is a method of code modification to improve the code quality and the efficiency. A program may be optimized or modified so that it becomes smaller in the size, it can consume the less memory, and it can execute more rapidly or perform the input output operation fastly. So for that purpose, we need to perform the different code optimization. Okay, and in order to perform the code optimization, there are the various techniques available under the local optimization, under the loop optimization that already we have discussed. So what is the objective? What is the need of performing the code optimization is nothing but what? The main objective behind the code optimization, that optimization must be correct and it must not change the final meaning of the program. And performing the optimization, it must increase the speed and performance of the program, and also the compilation time should not get increased. Understood? So for that purpose we perform the optimization, and how through the different techniques we can perform the optimization, that already in the previous some lectures we have discussed. So optimization is nothing but the rearrangement in the code, modification in the code without changing the meaning of the program, and we perform it so that our program can become memory efficient, as well as our program can become time efficient, and program will get executed fastly. So accordingly also we have discussed types of the code optimization based on when the code get actually optimized. Okay, if the code get optimized before the final target code generation, then we call that particular code as a machine independent optimization. So this code optimization phase try to improve the intermediate code to get better target code as output. The part of the intermediate code which is change or the transform here does not involve CPU register or the memory location or the instruction set of the machine. So during this optimization, we don't have to think about the CPU register, instruction, memory, etc., etc. That is the reason it is referred as a machine independent optimization. And second category there already we have studied machine dependent optimization. So this is the optimization which is done after the target code generated. Okay. And while you are doing the machine dependent optimization, we have to think about the machine CPU registers, their instruction set, memory, etc., etc. Understood? So the machine dependent optimization is generally the optional. Okay, but machine independent option generally get performed through the compiler so that our code can be improved, and execution speed of the program can be get improved. Okay, so this already last time also I have discussed. I just have a recap of that. Now in the phases of the optimization already we have started discussion. There are the two main phases: the local optimization phase and the global optimization phase. Now, what exactly is the local optimization? That already last time we have discussed. When the optimization get performed within the basic block only, in order to perform the optimization or the code optimization, there is a no need to interact with the another basic block. Then that kind of optimization we call as a local optimization, which is get performed within a basic block only. For example, this example last time also I told you: x equal to 10, a equal to b plus c, z equal to x plus y. Now here you can see here x equal to 10, a equal to b plus c. Instead of writing the x, we have just written the 10 on the place of x. That is called as a constant propagation code optimization. Here we don't have to interact with another basic block. Within a single basic block only, we have performed the optimization. That is the reason it is referred as a local code optimization. Okay. Now regarding this example also last time I have told you, just for your understanding purpose, I am recapping it. Global optimization. So as compare with the local optimization, global optimization is slightly opposite to that. So here changes or the transformation or modifications are done in the large program segment, which include function, procedures, and the loops. So in general, we can say global optimization generally get performed between the basic blocks. What? Between the basic blocks means when you do the modification, and during that modification, if you have to interact with the multiple basic blocks, okay, then that particular optimization is called as a global optimization. So in that case, you can see that is the reason we have called here global optimization as a inter-block optimization, whereas the local optimization as a intra-block optimization. Okay, and that example also I told you, these are the some basic block 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now in this basic block you can see where the optimization can be done. So x and y values are declared here. So that value we can replace here instead of writing the x and y as it is. That is called as a global constant propagation. Means this constant value we are writing in place of the variable instead of writing the variable itself. Understood? So this is the optimized code in the basic block. Like you can see here, we have replaced the x and y with the 10 and 0. So that is called as a global constant propagation. Now, in order to perform this, you can see we are interacting in the basic block 4. Basic block 4 need to interact with the basic block 1. Understood? Basic block 4 need to refer the basic block 1. So this is the interblock communication. This is the interblock interaction in order to do the modification in the code, in order to do the changes in the code. And this interblock modification is considered as a, or it is called as a global optimization, where I have already mentioned the global optimization generally get performed between the basic blocks. Okay, so this is just a sample example, but now in order to do this kind of modification changes, there is a need of two important techniques related with the global optimization, which are that the control flow analysis and the control flow graph and data flow analysis. Okay, so control flow analysis and the data flow analysis, these are the two important techniques which are required to perform the global optimization. This is a very important point all of you should keep in mind. Okay, in order to do this kind of optimization, two important techniques need to be understand. In that, first one is what? Control flow analysis, and second is the data flow analysis. So regarding the control flow analysis and the control flow graph, already we have discussed the things, but just I will have the recap for that. And today we'll discuss the in detail about the data flow analysis. Okay, so you know, to understand the control flow analysis, first you need to understand what exactly, how to consider the control flow graph and what exactly mean by the control flow analysis. Now to understand that, you need to understand about the basic blocks. Okay, because using the basic block only we can construct the control flow graph. Okay, and what is the basic block? That last time also I told you. The basic block is nothing but the sequence of consecutive statements which are always executed in the sequence without halt or branching. So particular sequence of consecutive statement can form the basic block only when there is a no halt or jumping instruction in between them. When some sequence of statement get executed sequentially, okay, when some sequence of consecutive statement get executed sequentially, then that particular block of statement we consider as a forming the basic block. Okay, for example, here is the example: a is equal to b plus c plus d. So for that, three address code can be generated like this. Okay, now we can see here when the first instruction is executed, all now after the first instruction, next instruction will be executed, then third instruction will be executed. So this instruction will be executed sequentially without any halt or branching or the jumping. There is a no jumping from that, like after the first instruction third will execute, nothing like there in this example. So this particular sequence of statement forming the one particular basic block. Okay, so same thing I have mentioned, when the first instruction executed, all the instruction in same basic block will be executed in their sequence of appearance without losing the flow of control of the program. So flow of control is not getting changed here. After the one instruction, next is executing. After the next, its next instruction is executing. The way you are looking at these statements, the way these statements are appearing in the same order, these statements are getting executed. That is the reason this sequence of statements are eligible to form the basic block, and that is the reason you can call this as a one basic block. Okay, so these are the characteristic of basic block, which already last time also we have discussed. Still I am repeating here: they do not contain any kind of jump statement in the sequence of statement, there should not be any jump statement, then only they can form the basic block. There should not be any possibility of branching or getting halt in the middle, like getting halting here and directly getting to the fourth or fifth or sixth instruction. All the statement execute in the same order as they appearing. They do not lose the flow of control of the program. If all these properties are being satisfied by some sequence of statement, then we can call that sequence of statement as a basic block. Okay. Now, so this example already I told you. So this is the sequence of statement which is forming the basic block, because here all the statements are executed in the sequence one after the another. That is the reason they form the basic block. Okay. Then now also example, you can see which sequence of statement cannot form the basic block. For example, this is the example given: if a less than b, then 1 else 0. And for this we have this sequence of code as an intermediate code. Now you can see after the first instruction, directly you are jumping to the fourth instruction. Understood? There is a possibility of directly jumping to the fourth instruction, or after the first instruction, you may go to the second. Then after the second, you may go to the third. But after the third, there is a possibility that you directly go to the fifth instruction by excluding the fourth. Means you can see the statement do not executing in the sequence one after the other. That is the reason this is not forming the basic block. Okay, this also in detail last time already I told you. Okay. Now, how the basic blocks are forming? For that purpose, the partitioning algorithm is utilized. And regarding the partitioning algorithm, last time also I explained you. So there are some rules of formation of basic block. So I'm just recapping it. So first rule is what? Determining the leaders. So which statement can form the leaders? So following statement of the code are called as the leaders. Every first statement of the code is called as a leaders. Statement that is target of the conditional or unconditional go to statement, that is also forming the leader. Okay. And statement that immediately appear after the go to statement, that is also eligible to form the leader statement. So first rule is regarding the determining the leader statement. Okay. And second rule is related with the determining the basic block. So all the statement that follow the leader, including the leader till the next leader appear, forms the one particular basic block. The first statement of the code is called as the first leader. The block containing the first leader is called as the initial block. Okay, so all the statement that follow the leader, including the leader statement till the next leader, that is the rule for forming the particular one basic block. Okay, that last time with example we have seen. So in here also I am repeating the example. Consider the following source code for the dot product of two vectors a and b of length 10. Now this is the code is given. Now directly intermediate code is not given. This is the general code given. Now for this code, first you need to generate the intermediate code. That last time I told you how to generate the intermediate code, etc. Okay. Now this is the intermediate code as a 3 address code. Now in this set of statement, you can see this is the first statement always from the leader statement. So we can call this as a leader statement. And next, target of the conditional unconditional go to is also forming the leader statement. So target of only go to is here. So go to 3. So this statement is also forming the leader statement. So this one and this one are the two leader statement here I have mentioned. Statement number 1 and statement number 3 are the leader statement. Understood? So this is the first rule we have apply here, and we have got the leader statement. Then next, you have to apply the rules to determine the basic block. So starting from this leader statement up to this leader statement, one basic block can be formed as per the our rule. So this is the basic block 1. Okay. And starting from this leader statement until the next leader statement not find. So until this we don't find any leader statement. So this is the second basic block forming. Okay. So in this way, the basic block has to be formed. So same I have shown here. This is the sequence of intermediate code, and from this we are forming the two basic block 1 and the basic block 2. Understood? So basic block B1 contain the statement 1 to 2, and the basic block B2 contain the statement 3 to 12. So this is the way of forming the basic block. And then after formation of basic block, the control flow graph can be constructed. Okay, so for the previous basic block, this is the control flow graph constructed. Okay. Now, what is the control flow graph? It is the one kind of directed graph. Okay. And what exactly it means, for what purpose we are constructing it? We are constructing it to show how the control is moving from one particular basic block to another basic block. Understood? The same thing I have mentioned. The flow graph is the directed graph. It contains the flow of control information for the set of basic block. So control from B1, where the control from B1 is going. Control from B1 is going to the B2. How you can tell me that? How we can determine that? Using this arrow, using this directed arrow, we can understand the control from B1 is going to the B2. Then control from B2 is going to the B2 itself, that we can understand from this directed arrow. So a control flow graph is used to show or depict how the program control is being passing from one particular basic block to the another basic block. So this is basically utilized for the loop optimization, and it is also utilized for the global optimization. Okay. So that is the control flow graph and the control flow analysis. So from this control flow graph, we can analyze the things. We can analyze the things related with the how the control is flowing or moving from one basic block to the another basic block. Okay. So the block B1 is the initial node, and block B2 immediately follow the B1. So from the B1 to the B2, there is a edge. This is the edge. So control is flowing from B1 to the B2. That analysis we can do here. The target of jump from the last statement of B2, that is from this statement, is the first statement of B2, is to this statement. So from B2 to B2, there is a edge. So there is a loop B2 to B2. So we can analyze the thing that there is a loop from the B2 to the B2 itself. Okay, and the control is flowing from B2 to the B2 itself. Again, control flow analysis we can do here. That is what B2 is a successor of B1 and B1 is a predecessor of the B2. Okay, so this kind of control flow analysis information we can generate with the help of the control flow graph. Okay, then now next we have to now, as I told you in the previous slide, in order to do the global optimization, we need to understand the two important techniques. In that, first one is the data flow graph and the data flow analysis, that are just we have discussed. Data flow graph, which you have to construct from the basic block. And second important technique that we need to understand to do the global optimization, that is the data flow analysis. Okay, here, sorry, first one is the, sorry, I just, first one is the, what we have discussed is the control flow graph and the control flow analysis. Okay, control flow graph and the control flow analysis. And second important technique which we required to do the global optimization, that is the data flow analysis. Okay, now control flow graph we can construct, as well as we can do the control flow analysis using the basic block. Okay, then using the control flow graph and the control flow analysis, now we can do the data flow analysis. Okay, then now we have to discuss what is exactly the data flow analysis, what are the techniques to perform the data flow analysis, which are the properties of the data flow analysis, and how the data flow analysis can help us to do the global optimization. That thing we will discuss. So from the name only, you can understand what exactly mean by the data flow analysis. So it is nothing but the gathering the information related with the how the data is flowing from one particular part of the program to the another part of the program, or gathering the information, analyzing the things related with how the data is flowing from one particular basic block to the another basic block. Okay, so same thing I have mentioned. It is the analysis of data in control flow graph. The control flow graph we have seen. So in that analysis of flow of data, how the data is moving from one basic block to the another basic block, that is the analysis that determines the information regarding the definition and use of data in the program. Okay, so if you see the, this is this as our control flow graph. Now in this control flow graph, doing the analysis related with the data flow means how the data is flowing from one particular basic block to the another basic block, where the definition of certain data is being mentioned, where the reference of certain data is being done. So that analysis related with the data in the control flow graph, that being everything is being referred as what? The data flow analysis. That everything being referred as what? The data flow analysis. Okay. So the same thing it is being mentioned here. It is the analysis of flow of data in the control flow graph. The analysis, that is the analysis that determines information regarding the definition use of data in the program. Okay, so with the help of this analysis, optimization can be done with the help of the control flow analysis, with the help of the knowledge about the how the data is flowing from one basic block to the another basic block, where the definition of data is being mentioned, where the data is being referred. So that is the data flow analysis. From all these things, the global optimization can be done easily. Okay. So in general, it is process in which values are computed using the data flow analysis. Okay. The data flow property represent information which can be used for the optimization. So there are the various properties of the data flow. Okay. There are the various properties of the data flow that we are going to study in the next session. So with the help of that properties of the data flow, from that information, we can easily do the global optimization. Okay. So that is the definition of data flow analysis, which is what it is: the analysis of data in the control flow graph. It means it is a gathering or analyzing the information regarding definition of data, use of data in the program, how the data is moving from one part of the program to the another part of program. That is how the data is moving from one basic block to the another basic block. So that we are going to now this is the just a definition. Next, in order to do the data flow analysis, first we need to understand some basic terminologies. Okay, now what are that terminologies? As I said, data flow analysis is nothing but the gathering the information related with the where the definition of data is being mentioned, where the data is referred, where the computation of data is done. So all this information is being nothing but the called as a data flow analysis. Understood? And from where you can gather this information, so that all the analysis we can do in the control flow graph. Okay. So here also we have taken one control flow graph in order to understand the basic terminologies related with the data flow analysis. So three basic terminologies we need to understand, we generally ask in the exams also. In that first terminology is what? Definition point. Now what is the definition point in the control flow graph? This is the control flow graph. As you can see, this is the control flow graph. For some example, some basic blocks are given here, like this is a basic block, this is also the basic block, these are all the basic blocks. So combining a different basic block and showing the control from one basic block to the another basic block, that is considered as our control flow graph. Okay. Now what is the definition point here? A point in the program containing some definition, that is called as a definition point. Now in this program, in this control flow graph, this is the definition point. Okay, L1 as a one basic block, A equal to 2. So here we have defined something. What we have defined? We have defined A and we have assigned the value 2 to the A. That is the reason it is called as a definition point. A point in the program containing some definition. So A here there is a, we have defined the A and we have assigned the value 2 to the A. That is the reason here it is referred as a definition point. Okay. Then next is the reference point. Now what is the reference point? A point in the program containing a reference to a data item. A point in the program containing a reference to a data item. Now see, this is another next basic block. In this basic block, here the reference is made to the variable A. B, now we can see reference is made to the variable A, because here to the B you have assigned the A. To the B you have assigned the A. So here you have made the reference to the variable A, which is being defined in the basic block B1. Understood? And that is the reason this point is called as what? That is the reason this point is called as what? Reference point. Some point in the program, containing a reference to a data item, that is called as a reference point. So a particular program, as you know, a particular program, for that program, what we do on that program, we perform the lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis. Then we generate the intermediate code for that. Then from that intermediate code, we do the optimization on that intermediate code. Now when we are doing the optimization, we can create the basic block from that intermediate code. Okay, from that basic block we can generate the control flow graph. Okay, and in that control flow graph we can have this kind of reference point, we can represent this kind of things in order to do the optimization in the better way. For that purpose these techniques are necessary: data flow analysis and the control flow analysis. Okay, so that is our second point here, reference point. A point in the program containing a reference to a data point. Here a point is here where A is getting reference. That is the reason here it is considered as a reference point. Okay. Then next we have evaluation point. What? evaluation point. A point in the program containing evaluation of expression. Some particular point in the program containing a evaluation of expression. Now, where the computation of expression or evaluation of expression is done, is evaluation is done here? No. Here? No. Here? No. Is the evaluation is done here? No. Some computation in the sense what some operation is getting performed. Something is getting evaluated. So here evaluation is done. What evaluation is done? X into Y. This evaluation is done here. So that is the reason this point is called as evaluation point. Some operation is getting performed. That is the reason this is referred as the evaluation point. A point in the program containing what? A point in the program containing evaluation of expression. That point is called as what? The evaluation point. And here in the control flow graph, here in the control flow graph, you can easily see that evaluation point. Okay. Now, so these are the basic terminology that we need to understand, to understand the concept of data flow analysis. Okay. So data flow analysis is nothing but what? Determining all these kind of things in the control flow graph. That is simply the data flow analysis. Where data is defined, where data is referenced, where data is evaluated. These are all the information that you can gather through the control flow graph. That is the simple concept of data flow analysis. Okay. Now, next important thing that we should discuss, to do the global optimization, and these things will help us to do the global optimization. That is the data flow properties under the data flow analysis. Okay. Now, what is the data flow? Which are the different data flow properties that we are going to discuss next? Okay. So, in that first data flow property, we have the available expression. Now, what do you mean by the available expression? This is the sample control flow graph we have taken for some example. Okay, now what is the available expression in that? Now, first you need to understand theoretically what is exactly the available expression. To which expression you can call the available expression, that you need to understand first. Okay. A expression is said to be available at a program point X if and only if along the path it is reaching to the X. In another way, you can define it. A expression, for example, a expression A plus B is said to be available at point X in the program if none of the operands get modified before their use. What? Expression A plus B is said to be available at point some X if none of the operands get modified before their use. None of the operand means until this expression A plus B is available at this point. Whenever it is getting available at this point X, the neither A should be get modified, neither B should be get modified. Then and then only we can say at this point X in the program, A plus B is available. When we can say A plus B available at X, when A plus B will not get modified until it is get utilized at this point X. Understood? The same thing I have mentioned here. Expression A plus B is said to be available if none of the operand gets modified before their use. Expression is said to be available at a program point X if along that path it is reaching to the X, means it is available at that particular point X. Okay. So let's see the example. Now here L1 equal to 4 into I, and this is the one basic block, this is another basic block, this is another basic. Now here what is said, expression 4 into I is available for the basic block B2 and B3. What is being said? This expression 4 into I is available for B2 and B3. Now, why it is being said it is available for B1, B2 and B3? Because between when it is going from B1 to the next block, it is not getting modified here in between, somewhere here. This expression 4 into I is not getting modified. Understood? That is the reason we can say it is available at the point B2. And in the similar way, when it is going to the B3, somewhere between B1 and B3, it is also not getting modified. That is the reason we can say it is available at this point. Understood? But when it is going from B1 to the B3, and suppose there is some one basic block available here, and in that basic block, value of I is getting changed, like I equal to I plus 3. Just I am writing it for the understanding. Now here I value is getting changed. Then if I value is getting changed here, then you cannot say the particular expression 4 into I is available here, because when this expression going from b1 to the b3, its operand should not be get changed, means neither 4 should not be get changed, neither I value should not be get changed. If I value get changed, then we cannot say the expression 4 into I is available at the b3. Or even if it is get changed somewhere here, then you cannot say the expression 4 into I is available at the b2. So 4 into I must reach to the b2 or b3 without modifying the value of I. Then and then only you can say the 4 into I is available for the particular next part of the program, that is the b2 and the b3. The same thing we have written in the definition. Instead of a plus b, here we have the 4 into I. So you can define it like a 4 into I is said to be available at b2 and b3 if none of the operand gets modified before their use. None of the operand, neither 4 should get modified, neither I should get modified until the 4 into I is reaching to the b2 or 4 into I reaching to the b3. Then and then only you can call this 4 into I as a available expression for b2 and b3. Same thing I have mentioned. A expression is said to be available at the program point x. You can call the program point this as a x1 or program point this as a x2. A where expression is said to be available at the program point x as x1 or x2 if and only if along the path, along this path, it is reaching to the x. It is reaching to the x without modifying. What? It is reaching to the x without modifying. So here 4 into I is reaching to the b2, 4 into I reaching to the b3 without modifying. That is the reason here it is said 4 into I is available for the basic block b2 and b3. So that is the thing or the concept of available expression. I hope all of you understood. Okay. Now what is the advantage of this? Advantage is what? It is used to eliminate the common sub expression. What? It is used to eliminate the common sub expression. So how it can be used to eliminate the common sub expression? Now here common sub expression is eliminated here, you can see. Understood? Because here instead of 4 into I, L1 is written. Okay, instead of 4 into I, L1 is written. Now here also, instead of this 4 into I, you can write the L1. If you write L1 instead of 4 into I, that will be considered as the elimination of common sub expression. Understood? And how you can do that? You can do that because you know that expression 4 into I is available at the B2 and it is available at the B3. So you know its availability. You know until it is reaching to the B3 or B2, it is not getting modified. So which expression you can call the common sub expression? The expression which is getting computed more than once. The expression which is computed more than once, that is we can call the common sub expression. So this is the 4 into I, this is a 4 into I. So 4 into I is getting computed more than once. So that is the reason you can call this as a common sub expression. And when you can eliminate these, you can eliminate these when you know that the value of 4 and I is not getting changed when the 4 into I is reaching when 4 into I is coming from B1 to the B3. And how you can determine value of 4 and I is not get modified? So when compiler know that the 4 into I is available at the B3, then from that availability you can easily determine that value of 4 and I is not changed, and from that availability of expression the elimination of common sub expression can be done, and here you can write L2 equal to L1 because you know the availability of expression 4 into I at the B3. Why? How you know? What is the concept of available expression? That already you know. The expression a plus b is said to be available at the point if none of the operand get modified before their use, and that is the property required for common sub expression elimination. Okay, okay, that is the property required for the common sub expression elimination. When you can eliminate the common sub expression, when that operands of sub expression not get modified in between, then that particular expression you can easily eliminate. And that understanding you can have from the availability of expression, because concept of the availability of expression says what? A expression is said to be available at a program point x if along the path it is reaching to x without modifying its operand. So that is the reason it is being said it is advantageous for what purpose? To eliminate the common sub expression. So you can eliminate here common sub expression because you know the 4 into I is available at the point B3. 4 into I is available at the B3 and 4 into I is a common sub expression. Okay. Then next important point here we have, that is the reaching definition. Next property, reaching definition. First, theoretically, you need to understand what is exactly the concept of reaching definition. Okay, a definition D is reaches a point X in the program if there is a path from D to X. If there is a path from D to X in which D is not killed and not redefined. What a definition D is a definition D is reaches a point X if there is a path from D to X in which D is not killed. A definition D like this reaches to a point X if there is a path from D to X and in which D is not killed or not defined, then that is considered as a reaching definition. Take the example here. D1 equal to x equal to 4 is a one basic block. D2 as a x equal to x plus 2. This is a another basic block, and D3 as a y equal to x plus 2. This is another basic block. Now what is said here? See, D1 is a reaching definition. D1 is reaching definition for B2. D1 is reaching definition for B2, but not for B3. Now what is the reason behind that? Reason is what? It is getting killed by D2. It is getting killed by D2 in the sense the value of x is getting modified at the D2. That is the reason D1 is not reaching definition for D3. Let's see here. Now in the D1 definition, what you have defined x equal to 4 in the basic block D1. Now next direction is to the basic block B2 where we have defined the D2 where x is equal to x plus 2 is defined. What is defined? X is equal to x plus 2. Now means what? Here value of this x will be what? Value of this x will be 6. Value of this x will be 6. But the x which is present at the B1, its value was what? 4. So that 4 is get utilized here. That is the reason you can say D1 is reaching definition for B2. The x equal to 4 is not getting killed until it is reaching to the D2, or x equal to 4 is not getting redefined until is reaching to the D2, but x equal to 4 is getting killed or is getting redefined until it reaches to the D3, because this x value is what? This x value is 6. This x value is not 4. This x value is what? 6. So value of this x from D1 to the D3 getting killed, when you can say it is getting killed when x equal to 4 is not remain 4, x equal to 4 become the x equal to 6. Then in that case you can say this x value is getting redefined, means this x is getting killed at the point D2, because when the value of x is getting modified at the point D2. So this x value getting modified at the D2, that is the reason you can say this D1 is not reaching definition for D3, but it is reaching definition for D2, because in the D1 whatever the value of x is defined, the same value you are utilizing here. But at the D1 what is the value of x is defined, that you cannot utilize here, because here which value you are utilizing? You are utilizing the x equal to 6. Understood? So that is the concept of reaching definition. I hope you have understood. Okay. Now what is its advantage? Its advantage is what? It is easily utilized for constant propagation optimization. Now you already know constant propagation optimize, it is one of the optimization technique. Okay, constant propagation is one of the code optimization technique. Understood? Now, how the reaching definition can help us? Now, reaching definition can easily help us because the constant which you have declared here for the x, okay, you can propagate it up to the d2 only. Okay, you cannot propagate it to the d3. Okay, why you cannot propagate it to the d3? Because it is getting modified here. Understood? So from this reaching definition, a constant and variable propagation can easily done. Understood? Because from the reaching definition we are getting the idea d1 is reaching to the d2 but d1 is not reaching to the d3. Understood? Means constant propagation can perform only between b1 and b2. Constant propagation cannot be performed between b1 and b3. Okay, as here this is the global optimization day. If you are performing the constant propagation here, if you are performing the constant propagation between b1 and b3, now you are interacting with the two basic blocks. So this is a inter basic block communication. That is the called as a global optimization you can do. Okay, and this global optimization, after the global optimization, now how you can do the global optimization from the reaching definition? What is the reaching definition? Reaching definition says that this x value, that is the 4, can be get utilized here instead of writing x. This x value is not getting changed until it's reaching to the this point b2. And so from this you can do the global optimization. So I will do the global optimization for this here. Like, so here you can mention it like this: d1 equal to t1 as x equal to 4. This is the one basic block. Then next basic block you can, now this is a b1. Next basic block you can mention it like this: d2 as x equal to 4 plus 2. Means you are propagating the which constant? 4 you are propagating here. Which constant you are propagating? 4. So when you can propagate the constant, when you know that this 4 is not getting changed until is reaching to the b2. And how you can know that? You can know it from the reaching definition concept. Understood? And that is the reason it is advantageous in which optimization: constant propagation or constant variable propagation. Understood? So that is the advantage of reaching definition property of the data flow analysis. And that is the reason I said, in order to do the global optimization, the control flow graph and the data flow analysis can be very useful. Okay, because in the previous technique, in the available expression helping us to do the common sub expression elimination, reaching definition helping us to do the constant propagation. Okay, let's see the last property of the data flow analysis, which is the important one. Okay, and last property is what? Live variable. What last properties of the live variable? Now first you need to understand what is the live variable concept. Okay, a variable is said to be live at some point p. A variable is said to be live at the some point p if from p to end of the variable, from p to the end the variable, from p to the end of the variable is used before it is redefined, else it becomes dead. A variable is said to be live at program point p if from p if from p to the end of that variable it is used, from p to the end the variable is used before it is redefined, else it become dead. Let's see the definition once again. A variable is said to be live if you call the variable as a, this variable is said to be live at some program point p if from this program point p to the end, if for the program point p to the end the variable is used before it is redefined. If that variable a is used before it is redefined till this point, then that variable a is called as a live at this point in at this point. For example, if you call it as a p1. Okay, if it is get redefined in some between, then it become dead. Okay, let's see in the example here, and then we'll apply the definition once again to the example. This is the control flow graph is given. In this control crop, this is the B1, B2, B3, B4, and the B5. Okay, in this each block, some definition you can see. Now in this block, what is being mentioned? A is live at B1, B3, B4. What A is live at the B1, B3, B4, but it is not live at the B5, or it is get killed at the B5. Why it is so? Let's see. What is said? A is live at the block B1. Here A is live. It is live at the B3. It is also live at the B4. Okay, but it is not live at the B5. Now why we can say it is live at the B4? Let's see. Now let's apply the definition of live variable to this example. Now a variable, which is our variable? A variable is A. Our variable A is live at some point P. It is live at this point B4. If from B4 to the end variable, if from B4 means if from this particular point to the end, means to the end in the sense to the B5, the variable is used before it is redefined. Now at this point B4, A is utilized. Before this A is reaching to this point B5, A is utilized here. That is the reason A is live here. That is the reason A is live here. Okay. Now why we are saying it is getting dead here? Because the value of A is getting modified here. What is the value of A? 4. Now this 4 here, this 4 value is getting utilized. That is the reason it is said that this A is live here, but this A is not live here because this A value is getting modified here. Now what value of this A become here? That is become C plus U, means this C is 7, and here it will become A plus B, means it will become 4 plus 5, 9, means U value become 9. Yes, U value become 9. So here C plus U, 7 plus 9, 16. Here A value becomes 16. That is the reason this A, let me do it again. This A is live at this point. It is also live at this point. It is also live at this point because in between this is not get redefined. It is live at this point because it is get utilized here. But it is dead at this point because it is getting redefined here. It is getting redefined here. It is getting here, it is being defined as a 4. Here its value becomes 16. Understood? That is the reason it is said A is live at the point B1, B3, B4, but getting killed at the B5. Same definition I have written. A variable A is said to be live at some point B4, B2, or B3 if from P to the end of if from P, now point P you can consider B4 as a P point, to the end variable, if from P to the end, if from P to the end in the sense from P, now here from B4 to the B5, variable is used before it is redefined. So yes, it is utilized at the B4 before it is redefined, but it is getting refined at the B5. That's why it is become dead here and it is live here. Understood? That is the definition of live variable. So here A is considered as a live variable because A is said to be live at the point B4, B3, B2. If from B2, B3, B4 to the end, the variable is utilized. So it is utilized in the B4. Even if it is not utilized B2, B3, the value of A is still available here, but it is utilized here. That is, we can say it is live at the B4, and it is live because it is getting utilized before it is getting redefined here. It is getting redefined here. Understood? Because its value of A is 4 here and it is 16 here. That is the reason 4 is getting utilized here, not the 16. That is the reason it is live here, but it is dead here because this value is getting changed at this point. Here it is 4, here value of A is 16. As the point at the point it is getting redefined, the previous value of A is getting killed. Understood? At the point it is get redefined, here its value is getting killed. Understood? Now its advantage. So where it can be advantages in case of the global optimization, it is used to do the dead code elimination. So dead code elimination is one of the global optimization technique, as you know. So it is used to do the dead code elimination. So live variable property can help us to do the dead code elimination. Now how it can be help us to do the dead code elimination? Yes, you can see here. Okay. Now here you the point you know that A is live at the B4, B3, B2. Okay, but it is get killed at the B5. Now add for the basic block B5, for the basic block B5, this is nothing but the dead code. For this A equal to 4 is nothing but the dead code for the basic block B5. Because how you can determine it? Because you can determine it because at until this point B4, A is live because A is getting utilized here. But can this A is getting utilized here? No. That is the reason. For basic block B5, A is considered as a this A is considered as a dead code, and this can be eliminated. This can be eliminated after the basic block B5 by the compiler. Understood? The value of this A can be eliminated because it is not going to be utilized further. Further, which value is getting utilized? This A is getting utilized, not this. That is the reason you can eliminate this A. Understood? So that is the reason it is mentioned. It is used to do the dead code elimination because once this A is getting redefined at this point, okay, this A is become the dead code and this can be eliminated. Once you know that this A is not live at this point, this A is not live at this point, it is live up to this point, then this A become the dead code and it can be easily eliminated. So from the live variable, you can get the idea up to the which point variable is live and up at which point it considers a dead. From that, you can easily do the dead code elimination. So that is the live variable, and a variable is said to be live at some point P if from P to the end, the variable is used before it is redefined, else it will become. So yes, before it is redefined at this point, it is get utilized here. That is the reason up to this point, it is said as a live. Okay. So that is the concept of live variable. Okay. So from these three properties like available expression, using the available expression, you can do the elimination of common sub expression. Using the reaching definition, you can do the constant propagation. Using the live variable analysis, you can do the dead code elimination. So using these properties of the data flow, you can do the code optimization that is considered as a global code optimization. Okay. Now here last example I am taking regarding the global code optimization, and this as a global common sub expression elimination. This has what? Global common sub expression elimination. Now we will try to apply the our property of the, we'll try to apply here our property of the available expression. Now this is the control flow graph before code optimization, and this is the control flow graph after the code optimization. Okay, let's see. This is the basic block B1. You can call this as a B2 and this as a B3. Okay, B1, B2 and B3. Okay. Now in the B1, what is written? I equal to J and A equal to 4 into I. In the B2, I equal to I plus 1, B equal to 4 into I, and in the C, 4 into I. Now, can you tell me which is the available expression here? Now available, can we call the 4 into I as the available expression? Yes. 4 into I is available expression. Now as per the definition of available expression, you can see what definition we have seen. Expression is said to be available if none of the operand gets modified before they are utilized. So same definition can we apply here. A variable expression is said to be available at some point P if it is not get modified until it reaches to that point. So here, which is our available expression? 4 into I is available expression. And it is available at which point? Suppose this is a B1, this is B2, and this is B3. So 4 into I is available at the B2 and 4 into I is available at the B3 because you can see nowhere the some okay here let's see here. There is a some okay jumbling happening here. Let's see. 4 into I. Can you tell me 4 into I is available at the both the basic block B2 and B3? This is the B1. Okay. If you consider this as a B2 and this is B3. So now 4 into I is available for B2? No, it is not available for the B2. Okay. Why it is not available for the B2? Yes. Why we can say it is not available for the B2? Now here A equal to 4 into I. Okay. And here you can see I equal to I plus 1. Okay, here value of I is getting changed. Okay, here value of I is getting changed here. Here value of I is what J. Here what you are changing, you are doing change as the I equal to I plus 1. Okay, value of I is getting changed. Understood. So here this 4 into I is not this 4 into I. So that is the reason you cannot say this 4 into I is available for B2. But this 4 into I is available for B3 because it is directly you can see here directly to the B3. That is the reason. Now how code optimization we can do? Now we know the availability of expression. We know this 4 into I is available for B3, but it is not available for B2. Why it is not available for B2? Because it is getting modified here. Okay, but it is available for B3 in this direction. Yes. So that is the reason we can do the optimization like this. Here for this A equal to 4 into I, we use the temporary variable t equal to 4 into I. And then you can see in the B3 block, this is our B3 block. In the B3 block, instead of using the 4 into I, directly you are utilizing the t. What you are utilizing the t. Understood. Here what changes you can do? You are writing I equal to I plus 1 as it is. Then you are using the variable t here. Okay, t as a 4 into I, and then instead of using the 4 into I here, you are utilizing the t instead of using the 4 into, because here you are assigning the 4 into I to, here you are utilizing the temporary variable, and to that temporary variable you are assigning the 4 into I. So for this B you can directly write the t. Understood. Okay, because even if you don't do this, it doesn't matter. But here in the B3 block, the code optimization can do. Now, in order to do this code optimization, you need to interact with the B1. In order to do the code optimization in the B3, you need to interact with the B1, because here in the B1, you are utilizing temporary variable. You are assigning this value of 4 into I to the temporary variable, and instead of recomputing it again at this point, which is being done here, you are directly utilizing as a T, because 4 into I is available expression for B3, and that is the reason here you can remove this common sub expression. You can remove this common sub expression because this 4 into I is available for B3. Understood. As per the our definition of available expression, what is it is saying? A expression is said to be available at a program point X if along the path it is reaching to X, or expression A plus B is said to be available at point X or P if none of the operand gets modified before their use. Okay. Now here you can see in this example, when this 4 into I is going from this direction to this block and from this direction to this block, now here this value of I is getting changed here. This value of I is getting changed here, but in the direction the value of I is not getting changed. That is the reason it is available at this point, but it is not available at this point. Who 4 into I is not available at this point. So we can do the optimization between these two blocks. You can remove this, and instead of that you can write T. So this is nothing but the common sub expression elimination. That is global common sub expression elimination. Why it is called as a global common sub expression elimination? Because while doing this optimization, you have to interact with the two basic blocks, this basic block and the this basic block. Understood? Okay, so this 4 into I is a available expression for this block, but it is not available expression for this block, because reason is what? For this block the I is value getting changed, but here directly you are getting the control from this block to the this block directly. That is the reason these I values, this 4 into I, and in that I values remaining same. But here in this block, I, until the program control reaches to this point, this I value getting changed. Understood? So that is the reason you can do the optimization between these two blocks, this block and the this block. Okay. So that is the global common sub expression. And to do that, you can simply utilize the concept of available expression, where the available expression concept is what? The expression 4 into I is said to be available at this point because the value of I and 4 is remaining same here. That is the reason here you are assigning the temporary variable to this expression. And instead of writing the 4 into I here, you are directly writing the T, because 4 into I is remaining, the operand's value of 4 into I is remaining as it is here. Understood? So recomputation of 4 into I is getting avoided. Understood? So recomputation get avoided, definitely the execution speed will get improved. But that is not the case for here, because here this I value is getting changed in this expression, that is I plus 1. Understood? So that is all about the global optimization and the different techniques that we need to use to do the global optimization. Okay. I hope all of you understood this point, and if you have any doubt, you can ask me in the comment section. Okay. Thank you all of you.